Okay. Yep. Okay, perfect. All right. So just gonna get this minimized here if it'll go away. All right. Welcome to the Ozempic masterclass or NOzempic masterclass. This is the 5-step process for frustrated women to safely and permanently lose 15 to 30 pounds in 6 weeks without pills, planks, or poking yourself. I am your host tonight. My name is Ellie, and my co-host is Brian. We are the founders of Be Elite Health. So welcome, welcome. I know all of you on here so far, but in the chat, do you want to just tell me where you're from? Maybe what you have tried to lose weight, and if you don't have any questions currently, maybe think of something throughout this presentation to ask, because we will have time at the end for a Q&A. Nope, hang on here. I'm just going to let somebody else in. All right. So what I will say as we get started here is that I am not against what works, but I know that there are many, many people who want to try to do something as natural and holistic as possible and avoid lining the pockets of big pharma. So at Be Elite Health, our philosophy is that the doctor of the future is the patient. And what we're seeing more and more of is a trend that is happening less and less. So we wanted to do something about that. And we want to empower people to be the best version of themselves and to be their own doctors, because we feel that that's really the only solution to our healthcare crisis, is more people who are empowered to live their best lives and model that for others, especially their family members. So tonight we're going to be sharing 5 steps specifically for menopausal women, but what you'll learn is that this works for anybody, whether you're menopausal or not. It works for men and women. It worked for me. I am not in menopause or perimenopause, but we do have a special focus for tonight's presentation on perimenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal women. So we want to show you how it is to lose 15 to 30 pounds in 6 weeks without killing yourself in the gym or injecting yourself with anything unnatural. So again, our focus is always to err on the side of being as natural and holistic and in alignment with anything that is natural here. I've got to admit someone to the waiting room here. Okay. So my name is Ellie Hoover. I am a mother. I am the co-founder of Be Elite Health. I am a certified family nurse practitioner and functional medicine practitioner. I also love nature, and I am a fitness enthusiast. Brian, our co-host, he is a subconscious mind expert. He worked with women in women's basketball as a coach for 20 years. He loves to travel, and he is a believer in the body's ability to heal itself. So how do you get the most out of today? I did send, or I linked in our workbook into the email that went out about an hour ago, just reminding you. I encourage you to download that workbook. I actually am also going to drop a link in the chat with the workbook, just so you have it in case you didn't get it in the email. Maybe if I can find it here. Hang on, sorry. There it is. Okay. Okay, there we go. Oh, I saw somebody had put that they were having trouble with their audio. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Ellie,
Okay.
do we need that workbook for the session?
It's helpful. I would just recommend you download it. I did just drop it into the chat for you. You can open it up and just, you can type in there too, or you should be able to just type into it the answers as we go.
Okay.
It's not like absolutely imperative though. You'll still learn a lot. You can also have a pen and paper handy if you want to take notes as we go too. So I encourage you to take notes, ask questions. A lot of your questions will probably be answered in the presentation, but we also have some Q&A time set aside, and stay until the end for your special gift. I did reserve something for those that stay for the whole presentation. So just a little bit of humor here. We're going to show you how to lose more weight in a month than your cat sheds. So if you're a cat owner, then you can probably resonate with that. So here's what you're going to learn today. You're going to learn how Sheila, for example, lost 23 pounds in 6 weeks, and she's somebody who never loses weight. So she's tried a lot of different things, and the program that we're going to share with you and the steps that we're going to share with you worked for her. We're also going to share with you how one of our clients has been able to decrease their medications, specifically medications associated with blood pressure, in a very short period of time. They're not snoring at night, their hips and knees are no longer sore. So amazing things are possible in a short period of time. Here's a recent case study from one of our clients, Joanne. Joanne was able to lose 35 pounds in 10 weeks, eating real food, following the protocols that we outlined for her. Like many of us, we've lost and gained weight, but she was able to keep it off finally. So the beautiful thing about this process is that we teach you the skills that you need to keep the weight off for good, and that you're not a victim of your circumstances. You're able to work with your body and say goodbye to inflammation, say goodbye to imbalances. And one of the things that she noticed is that her chronic back pain that she had had for years disappeared within the first 10 pounds. And now she's able to walk her dog without pain, and she's feeling so much better. You'll also learn some of our clients are experiencing exceptional outcomes. For example, losing 18.5 pounds in just a couple of weeks. This person lost 12 pounds in 16 days. And these are typical results that we see. We just see some wonderful outcomes when we give the body more of what it needs. This is another client. This is a recent testimony as well. She lost 23 pounds in 6 weeks, and this is somebody who, again, has tried a lot of different things and deprived herself in many ways trying to lose weight, but found a process that worked for her. Here's Dawn's testimony. She lost 25 pounds, so these are typical results, like I said, and when we work with clients, we actually stand behind what we offer with a money-back guarantee. Here's another testimonial. Someone losing so much weight, they're going to need a new wardrobe. So our philosophy at Be Elite Health, here are our philosophies listed out. The first one is the doctor of the future is the patient. The next one is that nothing can fix your body than your body. Nothing can fix your body better than your body. The next one is that health starts at the home, and we believe in skills over pills. So those are our core philosophies. If those aligned with you, type yes in the chat, and we'll get ready to dive in. Just check the chat here, make sure everything's okay. Oops, sorry. All right. All right, today you will walk away. You're going to walk away with clarity, certainty, and confidence. So you'll have clarity in terms of why you're gaining this weight in this period of life. You'll have certainty in terms of what your next steps are to lose that stubborn weight, and you'll have confidence. You'll also have a greater level of self-awareness on how to heal We want you to be able to, after today's session, make a decision for yourself. Because a lot of times when we attend a masterclass or training, we just end up being more confused. And so my commitment to you is that we will have more clarity and you will know if this is the next right step for you or if it's not. And saying yes to yourself is a decision, and saying no to yourself or no to whatever is offered to you is also a decision. We don't want to have an open loop after the end of this session. We want to close that loop so you're in the right place. If you're perimenopausal and or menopausal and looking to lose 10 pounds or more, and you're not sure how to lose that stubborn weight, you're in the right place. If you are frustrated with your health journey and you're struggling to get good quality sleep, you have joint pains, high blood pressure, digestive issues, and you're ready to have boundless energy throughout the day. And you're in the right place if you feel like you've tried so many things to get that stubborn weight off, but nothing has really worked. You're also in the right place if you're ready to put an end to all of your symptoms so you can live a long, healthy, meaningful life and do all the things that you want to do as you move into this next phase of your life. So whatever your reason is for being here, we've got you, and we're so happy that you're here. I want to briefly share a little bit more about myself because you might look at me and say, well, you don't have any weight to lose. You don't understand the struggle. You haven't been through menopause. This is my before picture, postpartum, 4 kids. I had a lot of life stress there, some stubborn weight loss after 4 kids. I had some postpartum depression and anxiety. I was in graduate school at the time and working full time. And for other healthcare workers, I know, Angela, you can resonate with this. It was the COVID era, so things were very, very unsure for a lot of people, but especially healthcare workers. I struggled, what my life used to look like. I struggled to put myself first with 4 kids at home. I went in intense waves of exercise at the gym and then would need to break because I was worn out. I actually contracted COVID naturally and really struggled to recover from that. Had frequent infections about every month. I actually ended up getting irritable bowel syndrome. I struggled with depression, anxiety, and chronic fatigue, and I just didn't feel like myself anymore, and I knew that something needed to change. I thought I had to beat myself up in the gym, so I went and joined a pretty intense exercise program. I lost around 30 pounds, but I still struggled with yo-yo weight and couldn't seem to get those last 10 to 15 pounds off. I had chronic fatigue, an energy crash every day around 3 p.m. I couldn't get rid of my acne and my skin problems, and I had a lot of joint inflammation that would come and go. I decided to go all in on myself and do this program. I lost the stubborn belly fat. My sleep improved significantly. My acne improved. I don't get that midday crash anymore. My energy is so much better and I have a lot more confidence. So I'm a big believer in this program because it transformed my own life. So now I'm coaching clients more confidently, and like I said, a believer. I have more energy to do the things that I love, and I feel more confident in my own skin. I personally would not have believed the results that you can get if I wouldn't have done it myself. So I was very impressed. And I became a product of this program, and you can as well, and I can help you. So before we get started, I just want to briefly go over what happens in perimenopause and menopause. Just a few definitions. Menopause is officially defined as 1 year without a period. Once you've reached this time period, then you are in the postmenopausal years, and perimenopause can be, 5 to 10 years preceding the actual day that you go through menopause. You can test for that when you're in menopause. There's blood work, a blood test called FSH that stands for follicle stimulating hormone. If that is over 40, then it's indicative that you're in menopause. Sorry, just had to admit someone there. Yeah, so if that level is over 40, then that is indicative that you're in menopause, but there really is no way to diagnose whether or not you're in perimenopause. It is basically based off of your age somewhat, and then symptoms as well that you're experiencing. So just this graph is kind of showing you that when you are in your reproductive years, your progesterone and estrogen levels are relatively stable, right? But then as you move along, you can see that progesterone, the first circle here, really drops off. And then estrogen itself will initially increase, but then it slowly starts to decline. So just a couple of the hormonal changes that happen. First of all, progesterone, as I mentioned, starts to decline, and this destabilizes our HPA axis, which stands for hypothalamic pituitary axis. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, but this is essentially your stress release response, your stress response system. So when this gets destabilized, then this can cause a hormone called cortisol to increase. And when cortisol increases, it increases our blood sugar. When our blood sugar then increases over time, it can lead to something called insulin resistance. And weight gain is then going to occur around the belly, which is a very common complaint for women in this time frame. When progesterone declines, it can also result in sleep disturbances and insomnia, which is then going to increase the stress on the body and increase the cortisol even more. So you're kind of on a hamster wheel, and it almost feels impossible to get off of it. What also happens in perimenopause, as I mentioned initially, estrogen levels will increase, but then they steadily decline. And estrogen is responsible for maintaining insulin sensitivity. It's also responsible for maintaining a healthy metabolic rate and natural appetite suppressant. So as you can see, when estrogen starts to decline in this period of life, we lose out on a lot of those benefits that we had. And because of this, we start to gain weight around the belly, which is also known as visceral fat. Visceral fat is one of the most dangerous types of fat. It puts us at an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke, diabetes, and a lot of other issues. So this is why it's important to take action with your health. I know some of you are maybe in your 50s and 60s, but if you're in your 40s, you really want to take action. Of course, it's never too late to take action, but the longer you wait, it's more of a slippery slope and it can be a little bit more difficult to correct. Another thing that happens is your muscle mass decreases by about 1% every year starting at the age of 40. And muscle is a sponge for that excess sugar. So if we're preserving our muscle mass, something in the chat there. So if we're not preserving our muscle mass, then we will have more and more of that excess sugar that stays in our bloodstream, which is also going to contribute to that insulin resistance and weight gain around the belly. These are just some of the symptoms that some women can experience when they're in menopause and perimenopause. So changes in menstrual cycle, hot flashes, night sweats, depression and anxiety, irritability, sleep disturbances, fatigue, bloating and digestive issues, allergies, migraines, brain fog, memory issues, dizziness and joint pain, osteoporosis, heart palpitations, dry and itchy skin, and hair loss. How many of you guys can relate to these symptoms? Just type me in the chat. It's almost like going through puberty backwards in some ways because your hormones are shifting and they're changing. And sometimes it feels like you're not even in your own body anymore. It can be difficult to navigate these waters. I know that I have not personally gone through menopause, but I've gone through my own health challenges where I just have had these persistent symptoms that can be so frustrating. So I can understand there and I can definitely resonate there. But one thing I do want to tell you guys tonight is that you don't have to have these symptoms in menopause. I think we have really normalized these symptoms, and Unfortunately, in North America, we have a very high stress lifestyle and our adrenals get burnt out. And the adrenals are designed to take over that shift for us and kind of absorb that hormone shift. And when they're burnt out already because of how high of a stress level we have, that doesn't happen. And that's when a lot of these symptoms start to come up and arise. So let's dive in a little bit further and let's talk about the elephant in the room very briefly. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you know that the elephant in the room is Ozempic. Ozempic has been around for many, many years. It's been used to help people with diabetes, and it works in a variety of different ways. One of the mechanisms of Ozempic is that it is essentially something called a peptide. And peptides are naturally produced in the body. In fact, the peptide that is semaglutide is called GLP-1, which you may have heard as well. And what they did when they designed Ozempic is that they took a peptide that naturally occurs in the body, changed its configuration a little bit so that it has a longer half-life. And so the result of that is that it sticks around in the bloodstream a little bit longer than normal. So this begs the question, what helps us create more GLP-1? Because do we really want to inject our body with a super physiological doses of a peptide, of a single peptide that's made in the gut primarily, or do we want to learn how to create more of it naturally and do the things that promote health in our body? Because you don't make just one peptide, right? GLP-1 is one of the peptides that's released by the L cells in the lining of the digestive tract. And these cells are responsible for basically probing and assessing the state of the gut. So when we secrete bile acids, when we consume proteins and fats and electrolytes, carbohydrates, and when we have a healthy gut microbiome, we produce something called short-chain fatty acids. And what these compounds do, and what these messengers do, is tell our L cells specifically to release GLP-1, but also release GLP-2. There's a few other peptides that our L cells manufacture as well. And when this peptide acts on various tissues in the body, one of the main functions that it has is that it will slow down our peristalsis, which is the movement of our bowels. It will slow down and delay gastric emptying, so food will stay in our stomach a little bit longer, and it will cause that feeling of fullness for us. So when this happens, people end up eating a lot less naturally. But here's the thing. If people are eating a highly processed diet or they're eating a nutrient depleted diet, eating less might result in weight loss, but doesn't necessarily result in health, right? If we're not, so if we're not eating unhealthy, eating less of your unhealthy diet doesn't result in more health. Now what they're finding is that when we're giving these people these massive doses of these peptides, that's what's causing a lot of the side effects that people are seeing. I actually just read an article yesterday of the amount of people that have started these GLP-1s and are dropping off because they're very concerned about the long-term side effects. And honestly, with good reason, there is a lot of long-term side effects with it. Here actually are some of the side effects and health risks of Ozempic, especially at the dose that you're receiving it. It can lead to suicidal ideation, vision loss, vomiting, nausea, gallstones, constipation, diarrhea, thyroid cancer, which is actually a black box warning for it, gastroparesis, which is that paralysis of the stomach, liver and kidney failure, gallbladder inflammation, pancreatitis, acute kidney injury, biliary disease, and hypoglycemia. We kind of are at a point in our society where we have to decide what's worse, right? What is harder? We get to choose our hard in life. We can choose to take the route of Ozempic and then deal with the side effects, or we can make the lifestyle changes, reap the benefits of the health, and actually have sustainable habits that we don't have to inject ourselves with. So what's really interesting is that studies are showing that to lose about 10 to 15% of your body weight, if you're a 200-pound female or a 300-pound male, it will take you about 6 to 10 weeks in our program, which is the Living Light Reset program. For Ozempic, it takes about 12 months. Manjaro, which is another semaglutide injection, takes about 6 to 9 months. And metformin, which is an oral anti-diabetic medication, it takes about 3 years. So when we think about that, I think most people like quick results. Most people like affordable results. Most of us like to be healthy as our primary objective. People that are trying to lose the weight, I do feel they want to lose the weight and they feel like they've tried everything, but nothing works. So I do feel there's a lot of sincerity there, and they're not fully aware of all the options that they have. That is a huge reason of why we do what we do in the first place. Um, and also the ideology that we want to transfer these life skills to our children. One of the things that is really interesting is that our grandparents lived in a very different world. The food wasn't as processed. They didn't have to deal with the lighting that we deal with these days, the Wi-Fi and internet, the amount of time that people are sedentary and spending time indoors in front of a computer. I mean, all of those things have gone through the roof, and they didn't have to deal with the issues that we're dealing with now. So they didn't teach that to our parents, and our parents probably didn't have to deal with those issues. So they couldn't teach us, right? So we are kind of this new generation of folks that are living in this completely new and foreign world when it comes to ourselves. Although it's familiar to us, it's the world we live in right now. It is very unfamiliar to our bodies. We are like fish out of water when we're dealing with all of these things constantly bombarding us. So if you look at the timelines of the weight loss and the cost projections over time to lose about 10% of your body weight, you can see here the cost of our program is about 25% of what it would cost through Ozempic. And these are just conservative numbers. It's also cheaper than metformin, which takes about 3 years to get these type of results. And the other benefits of this process is that you don't just lose weight, you reclaim so many areas and domains of your health, which to us is the ultimate goal. You may be interested to know that this program actually is the #1 metabolic health program in all of functional medicine. As I chose to go through it myself, I realized it was something I wanted to bring forward to my clients. So I have partnered with a longstanding functional medicine practice to bring this program to you. They have been doing this for over 5 years and have helped thousands of people achieve these results and reclaim their life for the better. So this is very interesting that this Novo Nordisk, they are the makers of Ozempic, they're out of Denmark. They make 90% of their profit off of the US market. So in the US, Ozempic has an average list price of around $936. So let's just call it 1,000. In Japan, it's about $169 for a month's supply. So that it's significantly more expensive here. And in France, it's $83 for a month's supply. So it's just definitely something to be aware of, that there's definitely something fishy going on here that we need to start questioning and start critically thinking that why is the population of North America being charged so much more for this one medication? It's very unfortunate, but it is the reality and the political landscape that we live in. So you may be familiar with Callie Means. He wrote a book with his sister, Casey Means, who's a Stanford graduate medical doctor. And Casey and Callie wrote a book called Good Energy. And one of the things that he's really, really prominent in is trying to change the food policy in our country, and changing what we subsidize. A few years ago, they classified obesity as a disease, And when you classify something as a disease in our healthcare system, then only drugs can treat that disease according to the algorithms. So there's a whole set of political issues that are at play here at this day and age and are actually giving an upper hand to these big pharmaceutical companies. But that also unfortunately means that the customer or the client is the victim. And one of the things that Callie has done is that he has researched policy for many years, in fact, on the other side of the fence, and he became a whistleblower. And one of the things that he shares is that no drug has ever lowered the incidence of the very problem that it is trying to treat. And when you put it in that context, it really it makes you really think, because we don't have a decrease in the incidence of heart disease, yet we have the highest rate of statin use that we have ever seen. We don't see a reduction in cancer rates, but we have more chemotherapy available to people than ever. We don't see a reduction in blood pressure rates, even though there's more blood pressure medication being prescribed than ever. And we don't see a decline in the rates of depression, even though there's more depression medications being prescribed than ever. So if we historically look at the trend of how our medical system works, it is that the drug system and the medical system have never lowered the incidence of the very problem that it's trying to solve. So that in and of itself tells me that this probably isn't the long-term solution. And Callie himself is very passionately persistent that in a couple years, they'll probably pull the medication off the market, the Ozempic medication, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll still be doing what we've always been doing, which is helping people get healthy naturally and to live in their bodies instead of manipulate their bodies to do things that they want it to, which can cause catastrophic side effects. So with that, let's get into the 5 steps. So the first thing that we need to do is understand our nervous system. Our nervous system is not necessarily the master system of the body, because your nervous system can't work if your heart isn't working right. But the nervous system is what I would say in the hierarchy of systems. The system that kind of operates and runs everything. Your nervous system tells the rest of your body what to do. Now, this is what's interesting about your nervous system, is that it's regulated by our breath. So what most people may or may not know, but most people I think don't know, is that when we lose weight, the question kind of becomes, where does that weight go? Do we urinate it out? Do we poop it out? Do we sweat it out? Where does the weight go? But an interesting fact that I learned is that for every 10 pounds of weight that we lose, 8.4 of those are actually through the lungs. So that's an interesting fact, because even most doctors, I know I wasn't taught that in nursing school or nurse practitioner school, don't know where the fat goes when we burn it for energy. But the byproduct of cellular metabolism and burning fat is carbon dioxide and water. So again, for every 10 pounds or kilograms, whatever unit you want to use, we lose 8.4 of those through the lungs. And so how we breathe plays a crucial role in our overall health and wellness. Most people that we work with came into us as dysfunctional breathers. You might be thinking, well, I've been breathing, otherwise I wouldn't be alive right now. And you are correct. However, are you breathing optimally? Is your breathing aligned with the goal that you're trying to accomplish? One thing that's crucial for you to take note is that your breath is the steering wheel of your nervous system. And what that means is that we can literally, with every breath we take, choose if we want to be in a state of fight or flight, or if we want to be in a calm and relaxed state. This is one of the things that we work on with our clients in teaching them how to breathe and helping them understand that there are different breathing techniques that they can use that will significantly help them improve their state of their autonomic nervous system. What I have learned over the years is that virtually all dysfunction ties back to stress, and your nervous system has 2 main states that it can be in. Now, this can be a very overwhelming slide, but I'm just going to go through it here for you. We can either be in a parasympathetic state or in a sympathetic state. Sympathetic state is also known as our fight, flight, or freeze. And the significance of this is that we are in this fight, flight, or freeze state. If we are in it, there is a predictable response that takes place in our body. Our saliva production decreases, our pupils will dilate, which makes us more sensitive to the sunlight. Our lungs expand, and that increases our respiratory rate. Our stomach acid production decreases. And when your stomach acid production decreases, your bile production will also decrease, and your digestion of your proteins decreases. So your stomach will stay full longer, and your food will literally sit inside of your stomach and start to rot because you're not making enough stomach acid to digest those proteins. Our liver and our gallbladder function will also decrease. Our glucose levels will go up. Our pancreatic enzyme function will decrease, and our insulin levels will increase. So the peristalsis, which is that movement of our intestines, will decrease, which causes constipation. And we have adrenal cortisol output, which is that our adrenals make the cortisol, which further raises our blood sugar. Our blood pressure will go up, and that affects our kidneys. Our urinary frequency increases. Our vaginal contractions or female vaginal contractions and orgasms can increase, and in males, orgasms can increase, leading to erectile dysfunction, but also premature ejaculation. So being sympathetic can have its benefits, right? If this is a very primal reason, but if a lion is chasing you, you don't want to be worrying about digesting your food, right? That's a waste of our energy because that's not going to save us from the situation that we're in. But we don't want to be in a sympathetic dominant state all of the time. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of people are stuck with their nervous system because of either trauma, stress, maybe unknown factors, and other reasons. They are stuck in this perpetual state of fight, flight, or freeze. And because of that, you can't heal and repair. It is physiologically impossible. So just like that, just like you can't change your oil in your car if it's driving down the highway, you have to park it in a garage, put it up on a jack, and then have somebody do it for you, or you change the oil. Our bodies are very similar. We can't repair, rejuvenate, restore, digest, reproduce, all of the things that our clients want, and you probably want in a sympathetic dominant state. Now, on the other side of this, we have the parasympathetic state in which we rest and digest. In that state, our pupils will constrict, our saliva production increases, which helps with digestion. Our breath becomes calm and normalized. Our heart rate decreases and our stomach acid production increases. Our glucose production decreases, and the uptake of glucose actually increases as well. Our gallbladder function improves, our pancreatic function improves, and our digestion improves. And our adrenal cortisol output is much lower. Our blood filtration improves and the urinary retention increases, so we're not having to use the bathroom as much, and our sexual health improves. So anytime we work with a client, every single one of them wants more of what's on the left side of the fence, but they typically live on the right side of the fence. So like I said, it is biologically impossible for you to be healthy if you're stuck in that perpetual state of fight or flight. Hopefully that all makes sense and you can understand and identify with what those symptoms may look like for you. It's really interesting as I've worked with people throughout my time. For the average person, when you ask somebody what their stress level is, they'll say, "Oh, my stress is fine." But then when we start assessing and digging in, we start to realize that they've normalized their excessively high stress levels. So if you think about an animal in nature, And then you think about the average human being, animals in nature are much less stressed out than we are. And they don't develop the diseases that humans do either. So it's important for us to learn how to use our breath to shift into that rest and digest state and to get out of that perpetual state of fight or flight. This is just another visual about the lungs and how that cellular respiration is how we are losing a lot of our weight. And this diagram is very interesting too. So essentially, the takeaway I want for you guys tonight is that the breath is the steering wheel of the nervous system. So I want to share with you a case study here. This is Amanda. Amanda was really struggling with weight loss. Like many of you here, she was a financial advisor, so she had a pretty stressful job. We'll talk about body types here in just a few slides, but she was a body type A, which is high cortisol body type, someone who's constantly in that fight or flight state, someone who, gains a lot of weight around the belly. And she was really struggling with weight gain, poor sleep, low energy, joint pains, and yo-yo dieting. She recognized that she had an unhealthy relationship with food, and she had tried many different programs in the past. And she was really looking for something that was sustainable long term to really teach her how to be healthy. So she went through our Living Light Metabolic Reset program. And one of the main things that we addressed with her was shifting her into more of that parasympathetic state, because that's where all the healing, repair, and regeneration occurs. And that's where weight loss occurs. So, as we said before, if you're constantly in the fight or flight, it's going to be very difficult for you to lose weight. As a result, she lost 25 pounds in 6 weeks. Her energy significantly improved, sleep improved. She was less inflamed. She didn't have joint pain anymore. Her hormones were balanced. And more importantly, she had an increased level of awareness around her body and her food choices that she was making. This is her before and after. As you can see, a complete transformation. She wrote this message a few weeks ago. She's been feeling awesome, that she thinks that her body is now at its reset point. And even if she eats inflammatory foods, it seems to reduce a lot quicker the inflammation. When she gets back to her healthy foods, she doesn't struggle with the cravings like she used to, and really doesn't miss the bad food that she had been eating, because she has that mindset shift that she doesn't want to feel the way that she used to feel. She had worked hard to get there, and so she wants to stay there. And so that level of awareness and that mindset shift occurred over the 10-week process, and she's been able to maintain her results. All right, so step number 2 is nutrient density and our eating window. So, excuse me, one of the things that we really focus on with our clients is compressing that eating window. What we find when we speak with clients is that many times people are eating anywhere from 7 a.m. till late at night, 9, 10, 11, sometimes midnight, kind of depending on their schedule. But they're just constantly turning their digestion on and constantly snacking throughout the day, and they're never giving their digestive system a break. So one thing that we really focus on with clients is compressing that eating window and really focusing on reducing snacking, because snacking is one of the main reasons why I see clients gain weight, especially nighttime snacking before bed. So one tip I can give you guys today is that you really want to make sure that you avoid eating anything 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Another tip that you also want to make sure is that you eat as much whole food as possible. I know that can kind of seem like a no-brainer, but I I just see it more and more where people maybe find, alternative processed food that is cleaner, which yes, it is cleaner. It doesn't have maybe artificial dyes in it or some of the emulsifiers, but it still is processed food. So at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is provide whole, nourishing food to your body so that your body is able to break it down. So these are some of the sample meals that our clients have made while on our program. As you can see, it is definitely not a starvation diet. If anything, they are probably eating more than they normally were, but they're being more conscientious of their decisions and they're choosing things that are more colorful and vibrant, healthy and nutritious. We really focus, like I said, on that nutrient density rather than just calories. You can see here that this bowl of chips has the same amount of calories as this apple. And of course, you know that the apple is more healthy for us. It's going to provide our gut microbiome with the right nutrients. It's going to keep our gut microbiome healthy, whereas the chips is going to contribute to a poor and unhealthy microbiome and decrease the ability for us to make our own GLP-1. So we really want to make sure that we focus on the whole food, anti-inflammatory foods, and avoid those refined carbohydrates and processed foods. We also focus on blood sugar balance. So, as you saw in those earlier slides that I shared about what happens in perimenopause and postmenopause is that insulin resistance is something that's very common. So we really focus on regulating the blood sugar through nutrition. We focus on the anti-inflammatory nutrition plan and prioritize protein and fiber. We also incorporate a little bit of intermittent fasting, which helps our body tap into its own fat stores. Here's another testimonial. This is Dana. She was struggling with difficulty losing weight. She's 62 years old and retired. She had gained a lot of her weight after menopause. She was also struggling with inflammation and digestive issues, low energy, and really struggled to eat healthy. She snacked a lot in the afternoon, and she had tried many different programs in the past, but she was looking for something sustainable and something that would really teach her how to be healthy. So um, some of the programs she had shared with us that she tried throughout the years were the Atkins diet, Herbal Magic, Weight Watchers, which really only focuses on the food portion. And as you can see from these 5 pillars, we focus on much more than that. So that's what makes this program makes it work and sustainable. So she went through our program, and within 6 weeks, and with a lot of things that we're talking to you about here, she released 25 pounds. Her energy and sleep improved. She was less inflamed. Her joint pain disappeared. Her digestion improved. And more importantly, she had that awareness, like we talked about before, around her body and her food choices. And so she just had this complete transformation and the shift into that parasympathetic. Here's her review for the program. She left a 5-star review. All right. The next topic and step is sleep and circadian rhythm. If I had to put things in a hierarchy, I would say that sleep and circadian rhythm are much higher up on the hierarchy than, believe it or not, exercise and food. We have very much been conditioned or told, throughout the years that the holy grail for weight loss is exercise and food. Those are actually probably closer to number 4 or 5 on the list. And this is why many people struggle to see results and see long-term results, because they're missing the top of the pyramid of optimal health. And so when we focus on improving the health of our clients, we ask about their quality of sleep and their circadian rhythm, because we know that this ultimately determines our ability to perform. So the ceiling of your performance in health is actually predicted on how well you sleep, recover, and your circadian biology. So every human and animal, insect, plant on the earth, the entire planet regulates its biological process by the rising and the setting of the sun, except modern day humans, of course. So when we invented the light bulb, that really messed up our biological systems. And I understand the irony that it's dark outside and we're on our computers right now, but it's just the reality of the world we live in, especially this time of year. There's ways to mitigate this, but ideally, what we want to do is coordinate our biology with the rising and the setting of the sun. 2 things that you can do that will significantly improve your health immediately and that are absolutely free are watching the sunrise and watching the sunset. And if you can't do that because it really only takes about 4 or 5 minutes, then at least be outside during the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day, rain or shine. If you can do that, you're going to see a huge improvement in the biological signaling of your body. Hormones like cortisol and melatonin are secreted based off of light. And so when we don't get an adequate light exposure, we don't produce the right hormones at the right time. That even includes when it's, overcast for months in the Midwest, it still is more natural light. That exposure will help with that regulation of your hormones. Now, if we look at a clock on our wrist or watch on our wrist or a clock on the wall, we'll see our numbers. But if you look at the organ clocks that our bodies have, then every organ is active at different times of the day. And the way our body knows what time it is not by looking at a clock or the watch or on your phone. These days, it's actually interpreting the light information that's coming in. So when our light information is broken, it actually changes a lot of the signaling within our own bodies, and this will negatively affect our energy, our sleep, and our appetite. For example, if you're not getting good, high quality sleep, you're going to have an appetite that is insatiable. So you're never going to feel satisfied and you're going to feel hungry all the time. There's two hormones that get impacted by poor sleep and circadian rhythm. One is ghrelin, which you can think gremlins when you think of ghrelin, or growling in your stomach. Those are just a couple ways to remember it. But the other one is leptin, and leptin is secreted by our fat cells to signal our brain that our body has enough energy and nutrition that it needs. But a poor night's sleep is going to break that message and the system. And as a result, we feel hungry all the time. We never feel full. And that might sound familiar to some of you, especially those that have had to work overnights in the healthcare industry. You just seem to eat so much more. And that is just that broken messaging system. The next thing is lighting and health. So when you look at daylight, daylight has full spectrum of light. You can see that blue and green and red and yellow are all in balance and harmony with each other, as you see in the top right diagram there, or the top left, sorry. If you study the sunset and look at the wavelengths of light and intensity of those wavelengths, you will see that during the sunlight, there's way more red light that's present. And you see that when you look at the sky with the different colors, and the sun looks a different color during the sunrise and the sunset. Now, this is important to note because if you look at the sections just below that, many of our light bulbs in our homes have been replaced with LED bulbs. And if you look at an LED bulb, you'll notice that it has an artificially high amount of blue light and a significantly reduced or almost non-existent amount of red light. Red light is very healing to our bodies, especially our mitochondria, which are those powerhouses of the cell. They give us the energy and your cells the ability to perform the tasks that they need to do. So if you look at an incandescent bulb, these are the bulbs that many of us had growing up. Our grandparents and great-grandparents and parents all used incandescent bulbs. And many of us as children and young adults used these incandescent bulbs in our homes. And you can see the pattern, the wavelength pattern of a tungsten bulb or traditional light bulbs match more of a sunrise and a sunset. So the lighting in our homes is actually very disruptive to the hormones in our body and don't provide the same healing mechanisms as natural sunlight would. So one of the keys for all of you, if you want to write this down, is that it's important that you have bright days and dark nights. So as soon as this presentation is over, we're going to shut off all the lights. If anything, you can turn on red light bulbs in the evening, but you want to keep the intensity as low as you can. That will start the secretion of melatonin. And melatonin is not just for sleep, it's also very important for immune health and it's anti-inflammatory. So we just want to make sure that the lighting is something that is often discussed with our clients as something we address in the program. Now, I'm going to try to go over this somewhat quickly. This is There is a gene that is activated in the presence of UV light. So UV light generally makes itself present within the first hour or two after the sunrise, and it's very crucial that we get this UV light. Most of us are indoors during this time, so even if you get your morning sunlight, it's crucial that you get sunlight during the day, throughout the day, when there's more UV light outside, because that's going to activate a specific gene in your body called POMC. Now, there's hours that you could spend on this. I'm just going to briefly touch on it. And what happens when you activate this gene is that it stimulates a few different functions in your body. One of the things that it stimulates is adrenal growth. So if your adrenals are burnt out, the solution isn't taking more adrenal supplements. It's actually, believe it or not, getting more sunlight. The other thing that happens when we get more sunlight is we mobilize more fat for energy. So if you want to burn fat, you want to get more sunlight. The other thing that happens if we release something called the alpha MSH, which is a byproduct that is cleaved off of the POMC gene expression. And this will decrease our need for food intake. So being in the sun at the right time of the day, getting the right amount of sun can actually decrease your appetite, just like these expensive drugs do. But what if we just got more sunlight, which has thousands of other benefits? We would also release beta endorphins. These will actually decrease our pain. We'll also modulate food intake and all kinds of other benefits related to our appetite, energy production, fat loss, simply by getting outside. As you know, children these days are spending way less time outdoors, and guess what? They are heavier and heavier than they have ever been. They spend a lot of time in front of the screens with blue lights, so they're getting a lot more LED exposure, and their cortisol levels are up, their melatonin production is down, their POMC gene expression is virtually non-existent. And especially if people are slathering on sunscreens and things like that, then you're not even in the summertime when you have the capability to get more exposure to this and have that gene expression, you're blocking that function and what it is supposed to do. So there is an app that we recommend to our clients that's called Circadian. And this app will help you and advise you on when to go outside. So it just sends you gentle reminders through your phone. And it makes a huge difference to just kind of nudge you, hey, go outside. In the summertime, I try to spend most of my days outdoors. Of course, it's more difficult in the wintertime, but I do try to get out as much as I can. And especially in that morning time, just that really critical first hour of the day, preferably sunrise. But if I don't make it for that, at least the first hour, I get outside and get some natural sunlight. So one of our favorite tools or sleep tools that we use is called an Aura Ring, and I just wanted to briefly introduce this. This Aura Ring helps us track a few things, including our quality of sleep, which also helps us track the resiliency of our nervous system and our resting heart rate, as well as a variety of other key biomarkers that help us to assess and evaluate our health. And to determine if it's moving in the right direction or not. One of the things that clients love about this tool is that it is very helpful because it gives you instant feedback. So that quick feedback will help you to make adjustments as you go. Okay, so we're going to keep trucking along here because we got quite a bit to get through yet. I want to share with you Marie's story. Some of you may have seen bits and pieces of her case study in our emails that we've sent out, but she's actually a physician assistant. She was having difficulty losing weight. She tried a bunch of different things on her own and struggling with insomnia, low energy, poor memory, brain fog. And she was starting her own nutrition business. So she obviously felt that being this overweight was problematic for her, and she felt like an imposter trying to counsel other people on their nutrition. She lost 28 pounds in 6 weeks and 40 pounds over the full 10 weeks. More energy, restful sleep, better brain function. And now she's able to counsel her patients in the way that she lost it. This is her before and after. All right, number 4. 4 out of 5 of the steps we're going to talk about tonight. Number 4 is balancing your body type. So we see there are 4 main body types here: A, B, C, and D. These can occur in men and women. Body type A, as we have seen before in some of the case studies and whatnot that we touched on, is the high cortisol body type. These are the people that are constantly in the fight or flight. So for those that are high cortisol, you're going to see weight around the abdomen, difficulty falling asleep. You may also be a slow starter in the morning, crave salty foods, feel wired or jittery, trouble calming down. And a lot of people have afternoon headaches, yawning a lot, chronic fatigue. Body type B is a high estrogen body type, and high estrogen body type is going to gain a lot of weight around the hips, thighs, and buttocks, potentially have mood swings with their menstrual cycles, breast tenderness with the menstrual cycles, excessive menstrual flow. We see a lot of clients that have endometriosis or uterine fibroids with this type of body type, vaginal dryness or itchiness, hot flashes or night sweats, and gallbladder related issues. Then we have body type C. Body type C is a low thyroid body type. These individuals have a really hard time losing weight. They have generalized weight gain, so this is referred to more of an apple type body shape, whereas body type B is more pear shape. The thyroid body type is going to be mentally sluggish. They have low motivation, chronic constipation, excessive hair loss, easily fatigued and sleepy during the day, seasonal sadness, and sensitivity to cold. Lastly, we have the liver body type. It is a little more common in men, but as I said before, women can have it as well. These individuals have weight gain around the abdomen as well, but their weight gain is more hard or taut versus body type A, because that body type A weight gain around the belly is more soft. The liver body type is easily intoxicated. Many have a history of drug or alcohol use, sensitivity to chemicals and tobacco, pain under the right side of the rib cage, hemorrhoids or varicose veins, sensitivity to NutraSweet, chronic fatigue, and fibromyalgia. So those are just the 4 body types all next to each other again. So I want to briefly just touch on that hypothalamus, the hypothalamic pituitary axis that we kind of talked about earlier. This is kind of a visual representation for you. The hypothalamus is located in the brain, and it communicates to another part of the brain called the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is essentially our master regulator in terms of communicating with our adrenals, our thyroid, and our female hormones or our male hormones if you're a male. And basically, for many people, the missing link to their weight loss journey is that they need to reset their HPA axis. So with all the individual case studies that we have shown you, they have all received a proprietary homeopathic spray that is FDA registered and Health Canada approved. This homeopathic spray helps to reset that hypothalamic pituitary axis. I'm sure many of you know somebody who can eat anything they want and they never gain weight. Well, the reason for that is that they don't gain weight is because their HPA axis is set to that body weight. So if your weight has been fluctuating, it's because you need a reset of this HPA axis. Here's another case study of Christina, 48-year-old, had gained 20 to 30 pounds of weight, specifically during the pandemic, body type A. She had eczema, which is an autoimmune condition, low energy, fatigue. She went through the program. She lost 27 pounds, as you can see in her after picture. She has more sustained energy, restful sleep. Her eczema completely disappeared. Her mood is more stable. And more importantly, here's another before and after right side by side there. But and her eczema pictures, you can see the hand is very inflamed, and that had all cleared up. Her face is inflamed, especially around the nose, and that cleared up in the time. But the most important thing to her was that the connection with her children was so much better because she had that blood sugar stabilization, so she didn't have the mood fluctuations anymore, and she felt like she was more in control of her life. Okay, so step number 5 is identity and coachability. So, how coachable are you and how do you identify? A lot of times we hear statements from people that say, I can't do this, or I'm a snacker, or I have a hard time losing weight. And because we've adopted those identities and because we believe those identities, the brain will always validate, and it will always think that that's who we are. But that might not actually be who we are. So when we start thinking of our identity, I want you to start paying attention to the words that you say and who you say you are. So sometimes we hear people say, like I said, I'm a snacker, I don't like this, or I'm not, I can't do this. And that results in them participating and engaging in behaviors that align with that identity. The other key thing is not just who you are, but are you coachable? Right. So, if you think about anyone who is great at anything like Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky, if we're going to go with sports analogies, or even some of your favorite individuals in life who are very successful, they all have coaches, but more importantly, they don't just have coaches, they are coachable. So we have something called the triad of health, and we believe that this triad of health is crucial to your ultimate health and wellness. And so the first part of this is lifestyle, right? That includes getting outside in the sun, that includes the food choices that we make, it includes a variety of things that fall into the lifestyle category. We also have environment here. That includes lighting in your home, the people you hang out with, the fact that you're here, and not watching TV, you're doing something else, you're educating and informing yourself. That's part of your environment. And then there's the third part, and that's your mindset and your identity. So a simple example is if I identify as being gluten-free, there's no amount of pastries that you can put in front of me that are going to make me want to eat gluten. Or, those that identify as carnivore, they eat carnivore diet, they will only eat meat, right? They're not going to eat the grains. Someone who's vegan is not going to eat animal proteins. So just think about it in that context when it comes to your identity. And so when you think of your identity, a good exercise that we take our clients through, and I would encourage you to go through as well, is to rewrite your identity. And so when you rewrite your identity, you start understanding how to live as the best version of yourself throughout all circumstances that you're presented with. So recalibrating your identity in your workbook, and you have 3 I am statements. So when you have some time, I want you to write down what those statements are. I am in control of blank. You might say, I am healthy and vibrant. I make healthy choices. I am the individual who makes healthy choices. Whatever those statements may be, I want you to start living those statements. And we go into this a little bit more in our program where we actually help people rewrite their identity. And as a result of that, it becomes very easy for them to make those decisions. Healthy people make healthy decisions because they identify as being healthy. It seems very simple, but it's actually very profound, and it really works for people. Now, another key contributor as part of this step is coaching, community, and accountability. These are absolute keys to your success. In fact, the research is showing that having a supportive community improves weight loss outcomes. And a few years ago, Cleveland Clinic in 2021 actually did a study and found that functional medicine shared medical appointments or group appointments actually had a much better outcome and a lower cost for the individual. So we already know that group programs and communities are really the future of wellness and healthcare. So we've covered a lot today, and I know we went somewhat quick because of the time, went through it very fast, but I just wanted to kind of refresh your memory. First of all, we talked about regulating your nervous system, right? And one of the best ways to regulate the nervous system is through our breath. So we teach our clients exactly how to breathe, when to breathe, how to breathe, especially while they're sleeping, which is that regenerative portion. Believe it or not, how you breathe while you sleep is actually one of the most overlooked and one of the biggest things that affects your metabolic health. Step number 2 is nutrient density in your eating window. So it's not just about calories. The food industry has jammed it down our throat that all calories are created equal. And I think somebody who even has half of the comprehension of what that fully means knows that that's not true. So that the whole foods that God made and gave us are completely different, and they do things that our system biologically needs in order to survive and thrive. Step number 3 is the circadian rhythm and sleep. We talked about that POMC gene, which actually regulates your appetite, your hormones, sleep, and your appetite overall. The circadian biology often gets overlooked, and when you tap into this, amazing things start to happen. We also talked about the body types and the HPA axis. Your hypothalamus is basically like the thermostat in your house. It regulates your appetite, your weight, helps regulate your cravings, and helps regulate your fluid retention, as well as your metabolic rate and your body temperature. So that's why when we work with clients, we have that homeopathic formula that helps them to reset their body, and why our clients are able to lose weight so quickly and keep it off, because they're essentially adjusting that thermostat to where it needs to be. And the last thing we talked about is your identity and coachability. These are key factors in your success. And as you know, these are 5 steps, but of course there's more. There's probably about 12 in our program altogether that we go through with our clients, and they learn about to help improve their overall health and wellness. So now that you've heard these case studies and you see the results that people are getting, I know that you're probably wondering what's the next step? How do we work together, and how do we move forward? So one of the things that I would encourage you to do is to schedule what we call a discovery call, and that is a complimentary call. It's about 30 minutes in duration, and in that call, we go over your specific health challenges that maybe you're facing, things that you've tried, and we find a solution for you, determine if you're the right fit for this program, and if you're ready to dive in, then we talk about what the next step is. So I'm actually going to drop a link here for you guys to get scheduled for that. Let me just paste it in there quick. That's that discovery call link. Like I said, it is no obligation. It is 30 minutes, and we'll just go over your specific health challenges and determine if this is the right step for you. Because at the end of the day, we want this to be the right step for you just as much as it is for us, because we want you to have the outcomes that these other clients have had. So yeah. So just a couple notes here. Who is this call for? Those that have tried everything to release the weight but have had little to no results. Those that want to learn a healthy and sustainable way to release the weight and keep it off. Those that are maybe having difficulty losing weight, they have low energy, they have poor sleep, and their hormones aren't balanced, pain and arthritis, high blood pressure. Those of you that are willing to invest in yourselves and take action. And those of you who feel worthy of having the health and the body that you have dreamed of. This call is not for those that are looking for a quick fix or a temporary solution, who aren't coachable or looking to grow. Maybe they're not committed, or maybe they are, but not really. You're not ready to make the healthier choices, and you don't want to change your eating habits. If you're ready to say goodbye to the excess weight and the poor energy and the poor sleep and the cravings and the pain and the tasteless diets and the intense exercise, the yo-yo dieting, the brain fog, the calorie restriction diets that don't work, then this is definitely your next step. So like I said, I dropped the link in the chat for the discovery call. It is no obligation. Go ahead and click on the link and choose a date and time that works best for you. You will have just a little short form you have to fill out, and then you'll get a confirmation and booking. You might be thinking, I've tried everything. I don't have time. I'm so tired. I can't start anything new. I lack the willpower. I don't have the support. I've spent so much money already. Being healthy is expensive. And what if this doesn't work? But I mean, ideally, what is the cost of getting your life back and having, years ahead of you that are disease free, and actually feeling better, like moving in those days and those moments of joy and not having the pain and the recurrent infections is truly priceless. So, yeah, this is just another slide where we talk about the willpower, the accountability, the community helps with that. Your energy, you will see an improvement. If you do the process that we ask you to, you'll see an improvement in your energy in the first couple of weeks easily. This program was actually set up for very busy individuals. So it is set up for those that, are working a lot or they're extremely busy with family obligations or both. And so there's a way to get around that. And the beautiful thing about it is that we coach you through the whole thing and help you adjust as needed. So you'll get safe, rapid, and permanent weight loss out of this program. You'll look and feel the best you ever have, restful sleep, better digestion, lower stress, peace and gratefulness, balanced blood sugars. You'll mitigate disease down the road, and greater self-love and self-care. So this just kind of walks you through the weeks that you see. The first 6 weeks is called our release phase, and that's where you release a lot of the weight. And then the last 4 weeks are the maintenance phase. So I won't go through this because of time, but I just wanted to kind of end with this, and then we'll go to Q&A, but the value of action versus the cost of inaction. So as you can see here, these lines over here right now in this space and time are the closest that they'll ever be. And maybe you decide to take action today, and 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, your health is significantly better. But if you don't take action, we know that the likeliness of your health improving is probably not very high. So the cost of inaction is very dangerous. I mean, we see it every day, all day around us, and maybe you're experiencing some of these things as well. So this is another testimonial. Day 8, this person released 5 pounds this week alone. So they've never had that kind of result. This person had to contact their doctor to decrease their blood pressure meds. So some common questions, quick. What if this isn't the right time for me? Ultimately, you're the only person that can decide that. So, and that's something we can help you decide as well on the discovery call. So just by going over the program. What if I'm vegetarian or vegan? We do have eating plan options for that. I've tried so many programs. What makes this one different? As we outline the 5 steps, but there's actually even more comprehension to this program that help make it, set it aside and teach you, like we said, the skills over the pills. So we do get the question a lot, can they just get the spray? And the answer is no, because it's not just about the spray. This is about implementing all of the lifestyle things, not just one supplement and hoping that will kind of stick and fix the problem. So if you don't live in Canada or the United States, I don't think anybody on here is in that boat, so we don't really need to cover that one. But what is the investment? The investment for the program itself, like I said, is a group program. And we have different levels. It is anywhere from 2,000 to 6,000. So it just kind of depends on what your needs are, what health challenges you're facing. And again, that's something we discuss on the program or the discovery call, and we go over with you. We also do have payment plans for people, so we don't ever want the cost to be a deterrent. Of course, it's an investment, but some of the things that you will have is lifetime access to the program materials and lifetime access to our Facebook group. So we don't just 10 weeks and you're done, you still have access to the community. All right. As promised, there is the Healthy Home Guide. So that is something you can implement now to start detoxing your home. And that is your bonus for staying until the end. I'm just going to drop that in the chat for you guys to download. And any questions that I did not answer? I see Jen, is it an upfront cost or payments? We do offer a payment plan, which we can discuss on your discovery call. And I don't think, yeah, I don't think I see anything else as far as questions. I'll just leave it open for another minute or so to see if there's any other questions.
Great info, Ellie.
Thank you, Angela. I'm glad you found it helpful. There will be a replay as well that will get emailed out to you guys. So if you want to review this, it was recorded. So
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I want to do a discovery call with you. So I'll get something scheduled. I'm going to
awesome.
jump off, but great job.
Thank you so much. Great to
Talk to
talk
you
to
later.
you.
Yeah, have a good evening.
You too. All right. And we'll just end with this. The doctor of the future is you. If nobody else has questions, we're going to end. We're right before 8 o'clock. So time to wind down for the night. Thank you so much for attending, you guys. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you later.